Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya headquarters. These are our top stories. In an exclusive interview with Global News Today on Al Arabiya English, Elon Musk's father has said he doesn't know what his son was thinking and that Trump will prevail when it comes to the feud between the tech billionaire and the president. Israel has carried out airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs. The IDF says it was targeting Hezbollah drone production. A three-day search for forensic evidence in the disappearance case of Madeleine McCann has come to an end. Our top story. In an exclusive interview with Al Arabiya English, Elon Musk's father has said he's told his son, make sure this fizzles out, while speaking about the tech billionaire's feud with President Donald Trump. It's erupted over the last 24 hours as the pair traded insults on social media, with Musk suggesting Trump appears in unreleased files held by the government related to the late billionaire sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, without showing any evidence of this claim. Errol Musk has also told Global News Today presenter Tom Burgess-Watson that he doesn't know what his son was thinking and that Trump will prevail. Here's the full interview.
Mr. Musk, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I can see you're in a departure lounge of an airport. It's been a very eventful 24 hours. First up, what was your immediate reaction when you saw the Twitter exchange last night between your son and the US president?
Well, what's happened is the alphas have sort of cleared, I would say the alphas have cleared the opposition. And like most animals, elephant and the different types of animals, lions and so forth, and humans are now looking to take on each other. It seems a bit silly to me, but Elon is concerned about the money that is being given to Dems in order for them to vote for this bill. He feels that's not the right thing to do, to give them into their schemes and somewhat dishonest schemes, if you ask me. But in order to get the bill passed, they have to meet the Dems' requirements. That's what I understand, and Elon is concerned about that.
Okay, do you think we've reached a point?
That in due course, he may be held liable for the bill. Do
you think this is a bump in the road, or do you think this is the end of the road for the relationship between your son and Mr. Trump?
Just a bump in the road. It'll fizzle out in a few days. Yeah.
You sound confident they're going to be friends again?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Have you spoken to your son?
I haven't spoken to him, but I did send him a message, telling him, make sure this fizzles out now.
What would be a fatherly word of advice to your son at a moment like this?
Well, when people have been through a great deal of stress, as they've been, for months, weeks on end, you can expect this kind of thing. When you're the focus of attention day and night, eventually people reach a point where, they lash out, or if they're tired. I think there's a bit of tiredness here, but I would say that in some ways, it's good that the ordinary person sees that even at the highest levels, people struggle. It's not just in your home with your own family, but at all levels, people struggle to find common ground with each other. And I think that's all we're seeing now. Trump, of course, will prevail because he has been voted in by the majority of the people in America. I've just spent 3 weeks in America. The people are, I would like to say 80%, but actually 100% behind Trump. So
why do you think your son brought up the Epstein files at this particular moment? What was his thinking there, do you think?
Well, I have no idea. I don't know what he was thinking. And, I think, people lash out when they're under stress. And, I can only imagine that's just a silly mistake. Besides, nobody this is also nonsense because, let the innocent person cast the first stone, I'd say, nobody's innocent, of anything, so I don't know what the idea would be. It's just bulls, elephant bulls or alphas having a go at each other. That's all.
All right, I gather we have to let you go. You've got a plane to catch. Thank you very much for taking the
Yes.
time to speak to us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Nice
Musk.
to speak to you.
Let's get some reaction from Freddy Gray, deputy editor of The Spectator and host of the Americana podcast. Freddy, brilliant to have you on the show. Appreciate your time. What's your reaction to Errol Musk's comments we just played out there?
Well, absolutely fascinating. Errol Musk is a very interesting figure all by himself. And the relationship between Elon and Errol Musk is quite complicated and quite interesting. I think that Errol himself is far more Trump, keen on Trump, and has been for a long time. He's told a story in the past. He told it to me in an interview a while ago about how in around 20, I think it was around 20, in the first Trump term, 2017, something like that, Elon Musk had a party in South Africa, and Errol was there, and Elon's Hollywood friends were there. And Errol was talking about how much he loved Trump. And Errol likes to say that Elon was incredibly embarrassed by him because he was being pro-Trump and all of Elon's Hollywood friends disapproved. Obviously, things have changed a lot since then. But there's a little bit of disagreement there between them on politics overall. But it's very interesting that he seems to be urging his son to calm this fight down with Donald Trump. Whether his son is listening is a completely different question.
And Freddie, you predicted this fallout last week when Musk stepped down from his government role. You said this world was one which Elon just could not conquer. Why do you think that this is?
I think Washington is a very different place. And it's something that businessmen, Donald Trump found this in his first term, businessmen, CEOs think that you can go in, kind of tell people what to do, make difficult decisions, and it all happens very easily. But of course, it's much more complicated than that because the federal government is a huge sclerotic beast and it's massively in debt. And so therefore, Musk coming in charge of trying to bring down the deficit, bring down the national debt, he struggled because he just didn't understand the level of corruption often in politics and the level of horse trading that goes on and the sheer backstabbing and viper's nest that is Washington. Trump has adapted to Washington to some extent. His team did not like Elon Musk. Trump, I think, was always wanted to get on with Elon Musk, admired him, another great successful businessman, the richest man in the world, and so on. But Trump's team, his cabinet, his close advisors, they quickly found that they couldn't really work with Musk. He didn't get Washington. He was alien to them, and they were alien to him.
And why do you think that was? Why do you think that he was so unpopular within the Trump circle, like you just said? What was it about Musk that just wasn't gelling with them?
I think there are two main things. One is character. Elon Musk is obviously an extremely successful man, a big ego, charming in some ways, irritating to people in others. And he just found himself clashing with characters because he thought he could boss them around, and they think they're pretty important too. So there were various fights. There was a near physical fight, allegedly, between Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and Elon Musk. There was a fight with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. There was a fight with Peter Navarro, who was behind Trump's tariffs. Musk called him a moron on social media and so on. And yesterday it was interesting that Susie Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, seemed to be nodding very vigorously when Donald Trump was saying, oh, we would have won the election without Elon Musk. It wasn't him, it was me. Certainly among Trump's team, they just didn't like him in terms of character. The second thing is ideological. It's more to do with the attitude towards politics and economics. Trump really does think that there is room to expand the deficit in the causes that he wants to promote, border protection and so on. Musk is much more of a conventional fiscal hawk, much more of a old-fashioned Republican in some ways on the finance. He wants to bring down the debt and get the economy back in order. Trump has political priorities. Musk's are more economically driven.
And let's just focus in on Trump has said Musk has lost his mind and that he has no intention of speaking to him at all today. Do you think this feud is something these two can actually get over, or is it all over? Because there are ramifications. You just mentioned there that, you know, if you think about Musk, he's lost a lot of market cap in Tesla. Things have become very difficult, and it's the world's two most powerful men sort of having it out on social media.
I think there almost certainly is a way back. One of the great myths about Donald Trump is that he holds grudges for a long time. He's actually extremely transactional. And if it doesn't suit him to hold a grudge, he will drop it very quickly. And in his mind, Elon Musk, he may be quite angry with Elon Musk at the moment, but he knows that Elon Musk can give his cause, his movement, a lot of money, first of all. But more importantly, and something that will be playing on his mind more, Elon Musk owns X, or what used to be Twitter. And a lot of people think, I think not entirely wrongly, that when Elon Musk bought Twitter and changed the algorithm, changed the way it works so that it was more in favor of free speech, that was a very important thing in Donald Trump winning the election. Elon Musk still has the power to tweak the algorithms of Twitter or X to change the global conversation. And X may not be as important as some people think, but it can change the global conversation, change it against Donald Trump. That will be worrying Trump. And therefore, he has an incentive to try and make amends with Musk. And I think they may well do.
Freddy Gray, Deputy Editor of The Spectator. It's been brilliant to have you on and all your insights. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Let's go live to Washington now and speak to Republican strategist Adolfo Franco. An absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for joining me. Great to have you. Pleasure. So in the end, it was the big, beautiful bill that prompted the big, beautiful breakup. Trump and Elon's bromance explodes into insults and threats. But Adolfo, how on earth did we get to this a week after Musk left the White House?
Well, I've listened to your excellent guests, and I share much of what they have already said on this program. This was in some ways not inevitable, but to be expected. One has to remember that Elon Musk was charged with the responsibility of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, to bring about cuts. His charge was not the reconciliation bill, and they really are separate. Maybe this has been lost on the public. There are two completely different activities. They can be tied, and you can reduce some of the spending through the reconciliation bill, which is another way of saying the big, beautiful bill. That's what they're one and the same. But the big, beautiful bill, the reconciliation bill, is designed to address tax policy. And it's quite limited, actually, under Senate rules to do so. Leigh-Ann Musk thought that would be the vehicle to bring around approximately $2 trillion which was his goal, in government cuts. That just, first of all, under Senate rules, that would not be possible. But a significant amount of cuts can be made without getting into the specifics, and they are being made. But again, I think some of the other guests have said it's a fundamental misunderstanding by Mr. Musk of what can be accomplished politically and what can be accomplished, frankly, under even the rules of the Senate and Congress. So therefore, the clash came for that reason. I think his expectations were rather high, Mr. Musk, of what he could accomplish. And this was going to be the vehicle to get it done, and he was sorely disappointed.
So earlier, Adolfo, we were speaking to Freddy Gray, and he said to me that within some of the circles of the Republicans, Elon Musk was just not liked and not respected as much as Donald Trump wanted him to be there. Is that what you understand too, that he just wasn't a popular figure?
Well, that's accurate. I have my own White House sources, and I'm sure others do on this program, but I can tell you that the people I know personally at the White House share that view. There is a perception that I also think even President Trump came to share, that Elon Musk thought of himself as either co-president. There was sometimes of a phrase that was used here in Washington as first buddy, and that he was, of course, by the Democrats at one time perceived and certainly portrayed as the president, that he was calling the shots, as you might recall several months ago. Obviously, that's not the case, as we now know, but that was certainly, I think, the approach that he was taking, Mr. Musk, that he had independent authority, decision-making. He not only clashed, as the other guests have said, with members of the cabinet, internally with lower-level staff at the White House who were quite influential. He clashed. He was not a team player. This is not that I'm trashing Mr. Musk here. I think he did a great service for the country, and I think his intentions were good. He's an outsider, and he's the world's richest man and runs companies. And he approached these individuals, as the other guests have said, as frankly his employees and certainly his subordinates. And that just rubbed everyone the wrong way. There's a sense, and people I work with at the White House have told me, we worked very hard for Donald Trump well before Elon Musk came on the scene. In fact, when he was a Democrat and supporting Democrats, President Trump won this election. President Trump is the president, not Elon Musk. Again, not taking away from his contributions, but that personality clash, in addition to the ideological differences of being, as the other guests have said, a fiscal hawk and not understanding the mechanisms of how to get things done in Congress, just made it impossible for a number of very knowledgeable, hardworking, committed Trump supporters to be able to work with him effectively.
Adolfo, as the social media spat unfolded, it became extremely serious. Elon Musk said on X that Trump was in the Epstein files, and this is why the White House hasn't released them. How damaging is this for the US president, as Musk actually got extremely, extremely personal?
Well, I don't really think that is damaging. I know that might sound odd for me to say that. But the evidence is the evidence. It's either there or it is not. This has been alleged before, and there's no foundation for it. President Trump had a falling out with the late Mr. Epstein many years ago. That doesn't mean anything could have happened in the past, but this has been probed quite extensively here by the media in Washington, particularly by those on the left, try to make that link for a very long period of time. Mr. Musk, I know that President Trump also often says things as well that people take exception with and they view as exaggerations and so forth, or certainly boldish statements. Mr. Musk has had that record as well. Don't believe that to be the case. And the White House is frankly ignoring it to a great extent. They're not even commenting on it, meaning they're just ignoring and passing it on to simply say this is unfortunate that the relationship has gotten to this point. All that said and done, here's what I think will unfold. I shouldn't jump in and without a question, but I do believe this relationship will actually be patched up because it's in both of their interest to be aligned. It's certainly in the president's interest to have the support of the world's richest man and the person who has done so much for Doge and is committed to his agenda. He really is. And secondly, it's also in Mr. Musk's interest. And Mr. Musk now really can't turn to many political allies if he antagonizes President Trump, Republicans, and certainly who's not going to have Democratic support for many of his own projects. Keeping in mind, his companies have received $38 billion in government contracts and support and credits and other incentives that the governments have provided, and he will continue to need that.
Adolfo Franco, Republican strategist. It's been brilliant to have you on the show. Let's see if they patch it up, and if they do, your prediction was right. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get into this further with Al Arabiya's senior correspondent and presenter Carina Kamel. Whoa, Carina Kamel, what a 24 hours in the Musk world along with Donald Trump. But there is a cost to Elon Musk. We know that Tesla was in trouble after he entered the White House, lost billions of dollars. And this public spat again is doing Tesla absolutely no favors. The company's market share tanked over 14% yesterday. What's happening?
Well, as far as public breakups go, this one is pretty bad. And it's entirely predictable, but shocking nevertheless. And I think the thing that's really surprising is the speed with which we've witnessed the breakdown of this relationship. We went from a fond farewell in the Oval Office to a war of words in a matter of days. And the stock reaction has been no less dramatic. Yesterday on Thursday, Tesla shares plunged 14% on the US market, wiping out more than 150 billion US dollars off the market value of the company. That's the biggest drop in Tesla's share price, or the value of Tesla shares, in one day in history. As for Elon Musk's personal wealth, he lost $34 billion in one day. Now, the stock has recouped some of the losses. It's up about 4% in today's trading, and that's on the back of some calming down or de-escalation in the rhetoric that we have heard via social media. There's talk of cooling off. There's talk of taking a step back, making peace, and we've seen the share recover dramatically. This is not the only problem that the stock has suffered or experienced recently. If you look at the stock performance from the beginning of the year, Tesla shares are actually down about 30% year to date, or as of the start of this year, and its sales are also down. Before President Trump even entered the White House, 2024 was the first year that Tesla saw an annual drop in its worldwide sales. And just this year, if we look at some of the sales in Europe in particular, we've seen really dramatic drops in car sales. In Germany, for example, down about 70%. Just a few days ago, numbers came out from France showing a 67% drop. In countries like Sweden, the drop was more than 54%. So we're not just talking about a drop for the share price and for the value of the company and also Musk's personal fortune, but the actual sales of the vehicles are also dropping in many countries.
And Carina, as you just said there, and also on CNBC earlier, they were saying this was the biggest hit to Tesla's market cap ever. And you've just been explaining to me that this was before Trump entered the White House. Tesla was already sort of losing money and prevalence in the market share. But do you think investors have lost a lot of faith in Elon Musk, and this is just something further that makes them concerned?
You know, it's a really good question because Tesla is a consumer-facing company. And last year, when Elon Musk joined the Trump campaign, and let's not forget, he spent about $250 million helping to elect Donald Trump. When he joined the Trump campaign, he, by doing so, alienated a large chunk of his core customers. And now, by declaring war on Donald Trump, he's perhaps alienating another chunk of his potential customers. And all the while, he's also worried investors on Wall Street and his own shareholders. So to put it mildly, Elon Musk has a lot of damage limitation to do right now. And he has a mountain to climb in terms of regaining the confidence of his customers, his investors, his shareholders, and also he is going to need to rebrand his company. What direction is he going to go in to try to regain the customers that he's lost from across the political spectrum? So it's really unclear where we're going to go from here. But for now, it's a very tough job. And I have to say that when it was announced that he was stepping back from his role in the Trump White House, markets actually cheered that decision. And we saw a positive reaction on the stock because one of the other things that's happened, apart from any sort of political leanings he's had and the effect on the sort of sales of the car, he has not been able to give his companies, and it's not just Tesla, let's remember he has a number of companies, he's not been able to give them the attention they need. And so investors were hoping that now maybe he can renew his focus on those companies and improve the performance that we've seen lagging over the past few months and year.
Carina Kamel, I wonder if they're ever going to get back together, but I'm sure that we'll see that play out in a few days too. Al Arabiya, senior correspondent and presenter. Great to have you on the show. Thank you. Now, Israel has carried out airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs. The attack took place last night on the eve of Eid al-Adha, one of the most important celebrations in Islam. For more on this, I'm joined by correspondent Trent Murray, who is in Tel Aviv for us. Trent Murray, great to have you on the show. What else are the IDF saying about this attack?
Well, Leigh-Ann, the IDF is saying that those evacuation orders around Dahiya in the Lebanese capital were issued about 10 p.m. local time last night. What followed was an admission from them of several strikes on several buildings within the southern suburbs of Beirut. Now, what the IDF is saying is that they had identified what they are describing as a Hezbollah aerial unit that was working to produce thousands of unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, in other words. And they say that under the guidance of the Israeli government, they have carried out these strikes. What, of course, is important to remember, though, here is there is meant to be a ceasefire in place right now between the IDF and Hezbollah. Acknowledging that ceasefire in their statement, which they've given us, they say that despite the understandings taken between Israel and Lebanon, Hezbollah is continuing to breach the ceasefire agreement with this blatant violation of manufacturing these drones. Now, as I say, they are saying that they tried to mitigate any harm to civilians here by issuing those evacuation orders. But we do know that the Lebanese government is really concerned about this. We heard an address overnight from the Lebanese Prime Minister Nawaf Salem. Now, what he spoke about in his first 100 days of office was his government's attempts to bring a monopoly over Lebanon's weapons. In other words, for the army there to continue to find and take away those weapon stashes that were being held by Hezbollah. In that report, he says more than 500 positions formerly occupied by Hezbollah have now been dismantled by the Lebanese army, but he also questioned Israel's attempts at undermining the ceasefire by carrying out these strikes. So still that ceasefire seems to be holding right now, but yet we've seen again, after many months of it not occurring, more strikes on Beirut.
And let's just switch to Gaza, and the GHF have closed aid sites again after reopening them. Trent, what's the latest on this situation?
Look, Leigh-Ann, it really does seem like an on-again, off-again situation regarding the GHS. I've been tracking their statements throughout the day. They did reopen them today, according to their statements, but then they were forced to close again early due to what they describe as excessive crowding that made it unsafe to proceed. They are saying that at no point did violence occur. That comes despite a Reuters report that the IDF opened fire on some crowds of Palestinians. The GHF is exercising caution with that story, saying that that took place in an area away from their distribution point as part of the ongoing war between Hamas and the IDF. But they are also saying now, under new directives from the IDF, that people should not approach these distribution sites except between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. local time. They say at that point it does become an active combat zone again. And I should also just briefly mention, Leigh-Ann, in the past hour or so, we've had an update of a fairly serious incident involving the IDF. According to the army here, 4 Israeli soldiers have been killed this morning in Gaza, and another 5 were injured when they reportedly entered a building which had been booby-trapped with explosives. The building has then collapsed, causing those soldiers to be killed. One of them has been seriously injured. The Prime Minister here, Benjamin Netanyahu, has described it as a sad and difficult day for the country. Leigh-Ann.
Trent Murray, thank you so much for joining us and bringing us the latest. Let's go live to Washington now and speak to former US Deputy Envoy Ellie Cohanim. Ellie, great to have you on the show. First of all, what's your reaction to the attacks on Beirut last night?
Leigh-Ann, it's good to be with you as always. I would say when we're looking at the situation in Beirut, we should take a big picture view and see that the U.S., Israel, and Lebanon right now have a success story to share. Just last week, the Wall Street Journal issued a great story about how Israel has been sharing intelligence through the United States to the Lebanese government on Hezbollah strongholds, on military spots in Lebanon where there are a lot of weapons kept by Hezbollah. And so, and the Lebanese army and Lebanese government has managed to destroy a lot of those sites or to capture those weapons for their own army's use. And so this is actually a positive story. We have to expect that there are going to be moments like this morning where Israel did in fact strike this location where there were apparently UAVs being produced. And, I think that's par for the course for as long as the Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorist militia has any kind of presence or is up to their nefarious activity. But again, I would say that the big picture is a positive picture for the region.
And Ellie, in Gaza, since the GHF began aid distribution, there's been reports of shootings by Israeli military and reported overcrowding. What steps are now being taken to make sure aid sites are safe? And how concerned are the Republican Party about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza right now?
Well, I think everyone is concerned about the humanitarian crisis, which was produced by Hamas, let's not forget, not only with their invasion and their attack of October 7th and starting a war with Israel, but also we've seen tons and tons of documentation of Hamas pilfering the international aid that was meant for Gaza's civilians. And the reports showed us that Hamas was actually stealing the aid and selling it to Gaza's civilians, which was meant to be given to the civilians for free, right? This was international aid meant for Gazans. And so it has taken some time, I think, for the Israelis with U.S. support to figure out this food distribution system. We're only in the very early stages of it. And so it's not surprising that there are these incidents where apparently Gazans have really come towards the Israeli forces in a way that the forces felt that their own lives were at risk. So we can expect some chaos at the beginning of a system being put in order, especially given a situation where, you've got millions of civilians, as U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff has described, in an unlivable, uninhabitable situation. Look, there were hopes that Israel's Arab neighbors like Egypt, as an example, would take some refugees. They've so far refused to do that. So given all these factors, I think that the right thing is for the international community to have some patience while the system is worked out. And I do expect that we're going to see a lot of progress in the food distribution system very soon.
Ellie, I spoke to a doctor who is working in Gaza in a pediatric department earlier this week, Nasser Hospital in Gaza, and he said to me that people from these aid distribution sites are coming in with bullet wounds and they've been targeted. And he was saying that they don't feel that there is Hamas presence at the moment. So Hamas would push back against that. How does this situation end? How do people actually get the aid they need? And where's the resolution down the line here?
Well, I think the way people get the aid they need is by trying to behave in an orderly manner. I have to say that, again, anyone who's familiar with this conflict and is familiar with how Hamas operates, how terrorists operate, is often that they are hanging out and shielding themselves among civilian populations, and it's impossible for Israeli defense forces or for American contractors to be able to distinguish between those who are innocent and those who are not. I mean, sadly, that's how Hamas has operated. They have used the Gaza civilian population as their own human shields. And so, again, this is just a matter of time before this new food aid organization is able to create an orderly system so that people can receive the food aid. And let's remember, we're, again, almost 2 years into a system previously where Hamas was hijacking the food aid. So I think anyone who's actually concerned for Gaza civilians should be applauding the fact that there's now this system that will deliver the food that Gazans desperately need.
And Ellie, I just want to switch gears slightly because you posted a picture of yourself and President Donald Trump on social media today saying, "You and I have just one job, and that is to vote, vote and vote." As the fallout with Elon Musk does dominate headlines, is the Republican Party now concerned about the midterms? And without Musk's money, can you actually win them and be successful?
Well, that's a terrific question. And I would tell you this, Republicans have won in the past without Elon Musk's money. So I'm not concerned about that. I think that it was really an unfortunate kind of falling out that took place so publicly between Elon Musk and the president. But Elon Musk has to be really aware of the fact that President Trump won this last election with a huge mandate. I mean, let's remember, he won every single swing state in the United States. And so the public sentiment is going to be with the president of the United States. Again, the unfortunate part was that this falling out was so public. My hope is that today, behind the scenes, there are people who are going to bring the two sides, to some sort of rapprochement and really put this sad affair to an end. But at the end of the day, it's really President Trump who has the American public's support, and he's going to continue to have the American public's support.
And Ellie, you're close with the president. Have you heard from him? And what do you think he'll be thinking right now?
Well, I think the president is an incredibly savvy person, and so he's probably not all that surprised by what happened with Elon Musk. I'm sure he's disappointed. I think he has said as much publicly. But I think that the president, has a read on people, and we started to see this saga kind of weeks in advance, where it started with President Trump letting the public know that as much as he appreciated Elon Musk's service to our country, that service was going to be coming to an end. And so, again, I think that President Trump is really a good reader of people. And he probably knew that Elon Musk was going to be unhappy with some of the events that unfolded. For example, the fact that the EV mandate, the electrical vehicle mandate that was previously in the congressional bill that's being voted upon right now and being looked at right now in the U.S. Congress would no longer be as part of the bill. And this is a situation that puts Elon Musk, at the potential of his personal financial loss and his company's financial loss. And so a lot of people are attributing Musk's actions right now to his own personal situation and personal finances. It's a sad shame, and I think all of us wish that Elon Musk would have been better than this. At the same time, many people are grateful to Elon Musk for the fact that he did his acquisition of Twitter, now X, and his role in helping make sure that in the United States we had a free public conversation, especially in the lead up to the 2024 elections, which did indeed help President Trump win the election.
Ellie, let's hope that we see the makeup after the breakup. Thank you so much for joining us, former US Deputy Envoy Ellie Cohanim. Always great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, a 3-day search for forensic evidence in the disappearance case of Madeleine McCann has come to an end. Madeleine vanished from a holiday home in Portugal 18 years ago, sparking a major investigation. This week, police were searching scrubland and abandoned buildings. Senior global reporter for The Mail Online, Nick Pisa, sent us the latest from Praia de Luz.
The Madeleine McCann search operation has now come to a close. After 3 days, a joint operation between German and Portuguese police. I'm actually standing now in one of the locations that they searched during those 3 days, and I have to say that having spoken to Portuguese police sources, nothing of any interest was found. They told me that just some animal bones, some adult female clothing was found. Apart from that, nothing else of any significance. And let's just remind ourselves of why they were here. They were looking for some sort of concrete evidence that could link them, link Maddie's abduction in 2007 from just a short distance away from me here to Christian Bruckner. Now, he is the prime suspect in this case. He was named by German police in June 2020 as the man that they believed responsible for the abduction and murder of Maddie McCann. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find anything, although they haven't said anything officially. We are expecting an update sometime over the weekend, perhaps next week, and they will tell us officially that they are very unlikely to have found anything of any significance here, which means that the clock is still ticking for Christian Bruckner, for the police to bring charges against him. He is currently serving a 7-year prison sentence for rape, and that sentence is due to expire in September, which means he will walk free, and his lawyer has already told me that he intends to go abroad because of all the publicity surrounding him, linking him to the disappearance of Maddie McCann. Now, apparently the lawyer also told me that he has about 1,600 euros of fines outstanding, which means that unless he pays those, he won't actually be free until January of next year, which perhaps gives the German authorities a chink of light to carry on with their investigation. They've already told me that they will pursue this, they intend to carry on, and they will leave no stone unturned in their hunt to try and pin some charge or get some charge over the line against Christian Bruckner.
A reminder of our top stories. In an exclusive interview with Global News today on Al Arabiya English, Elon Musk's father has said he doesn't know what his son was thinking and that Trump will prevail when it comes to the feud between the tech billionaire and the president. Israel has carried out airstrikes on Beirut's southern suburbs. The IDF said it was targeting Hezbollah's drone production. And a 3-day search for forensic evidence in the disappearance case of Madeleine McCann has come to an end. And that's all from us on W News. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on X. The Dressing Room is coming up next. Goodbye and have a lovely Friday.